If you were to ask your parents to recount their college years, they'd probably be quick to tell you that they were the greatest of their lives. A 4-year festival of freedom where they gained a better perspective on life and the people they wanted to become. While this unique offer of self-exploration may seem enticing to most, it is an equally terrifying prospect to the average 18-year-old. Picking a school is the easy part. Deciding what you want to do there is more of a puzzle. By talking to real university students about their experiences in different programs, I hope to shed at least a sliver of light on the mini-college roadmaps of incoming freshmen. In this first episode, I delved into the world of graphic design by sitting down with Emily Herndon, a junior studying at the University of Kansas. I'm Corey Minkoff, and this is Major Rager. Okay, so Emily, could you please give me a summary of your academic experience at KU?
Okay, my academic experience at KU, I came in with no credits from high school, unlike my friends, and then I started in graphic design. It's a 4-year program, so I'm in my 3rd year, and that's where I'm at.
Why did you choose graphic design?
I wasn't sure what I wanted to do in high school, so I took an art class my senior year, and my professor said that, or my teacher told me that I should do graphic design because she think I'd enjoy it, so I tried it out, and now I love it.
Have you always been a fan of art?
Yeah, I've always been a fan of art, but I was never really into it because my parents pushed me more towards math and science.
But you didn't know a lot about graphic design?
Not at all. I didn't know anything about graphic design.
Was the program at KU like you expected then?
It was better than I expected. I honestly thought it was just going to be some okay program, and I was just trying to get a degree. But KU actually has one of the best programs, and as I continue my education, I'm just learning more about how great KU's design program is.
But has it been a difficult program?
It's been definitely difficult. There have been times where I just not even sure if it's even worth going through all the hoops. So.
What kind of hoops?
Well, there's a sophomore review year where, they cut some people from the program, and so that was difficult and really stressful, all of sophomore year, and, you have to keep a certain GPA. You also, they tell you can't work more than 20 hours on a different job because you have to focus on this program. So it's just really difficult and time-consuming.
Do you have another job?
I do. I have 2 other jobs.
What are they?
I'm a TA for freshman designers, and then I am a cashier at Panera on weekends.
So how many hours of work are you working in graphic design on your major?
In graphic design, I'm probably working at about 30 hours a week outside of class.
Okay. How many at Panera?
At Panera, I'm working about 20.
Okay. And how many as a TA?
As a TA, it's 6 hours a week, but I've been helping students outside of class, so that's usually about 2 to 3 hours.
Okay. So 2 to 3 hours plus the additional 6 hours?
Plus the 6, yep.
So about 10 hours a week?
About 10 hours, yeah.
Okay. So you work about 60 hours a week.
Yeah.
What is that like?
It's terrible.
Why
it's
do
awful.
you do that?
I love design. I love what I'm doing, but I just wish I could get more sleep and have more time for myself.
Yeah.
So.
You talked about the sophomore review. Can you talk to me about what that was like?
So sophomore review is basically you take all your projects from sophomore year and you go into a room and you set it all up, and then the teachers will look at it and decide if they like it or not, and then they'll cut you, and you'll sit down and meet with them the next day, and they'll talk to you about what you need to improve on if you're still in the program. If you're not still in the program, they'll tell you that you need to find a new major or you need to figure out some other plan. But then they'll talk to you about what you need to improve on the next year and what you should focus on over the summer to help you improve.
How many people get cut from that?
It kind of depends on the year. We had a smaller class, so only about 3 to 4 people got cut. But there have been years where, maybe 5 to maybe even 10 people get cut.
Out of how many?
About 40.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot.
So that's really competitive, then.
It's very competitive, yep. And they even cut people freshman year.
They cut people freshman year?
Yeah, but
Why?
that's based on GPA. GPA.
Why? Just off GPA?
Just off GPA, yeah. So if you don't have above, I can't remember what it was, 2.5 or something, you get cut.
How hard is it to maintain that GPA?
It's not very hard as long as you put in the work, but it's mainly to weed out people that aren't doing the work.
All right.
So
you said you spend 30 hours a week usually.
That's maximum.
So that's class time, homework, studying?
Yeah.
Everything?
That's pretty much everything, yeah.
So what does that consist of most of the time?
So what they recommend is it's a 3-hour class for each studio, and I'm in 2 studios. So they require about 9 hours of extra homework time during the week. So that's 18 hours for both of them, plus the 6 hours of class I'm taking, which is 24. But it's usually more than 9 hours of homework per class. So usually it's just going to class, and those are usually just critiques, so you just sit there and wait to be critiqued. And then you go home and you work on your homework for however long until you think it's okay to take to class and be critiqued. So
what does the homework look like, though? What does the schedule look like in terms of, like, doing the work, too?
It depends. So, like, right now we're working on posters for one class and we're designing websites for another. So the posters, we had to make 12 posters for one class, and then for next week we have to have an additional 8 posters. So we were given at first about 25 posters in the beginning, and now we're narrowing it down to get the 2 posters for the end. So usually for each class we have to bring in about 10 posters to be designed between like Monday and Wednesday. And then for the website class, we just have to design a website and continuously do research on website design and our subject. So a lot of it's research. We have to do a lot of research as well as sit down and design the actual product.
So I want to pivot a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, well, it sounds difficult to me.
Yeah.
I'm obviously not a graphic design major, and I don't know anything about art.
Yeah.
So I don't know anything about like what it feels like to have to do this much work, but I would think it would be very difficult even if I was passionate about it. Speaking subjectively,
mm-hmm.
obviously, do you think that this major is something that is like very difficult compared to other ones? Can you even like compare it to other majors, or is it
it's hard to compare it to other majors, but we do put in, I feel, a lot more time than maybe some other people. Like, I know that compared to my roommates, this is a good example. I'm always in my room working, and they comment on it a lot, and they understand that I have a lot of homework and a lot of time put into this, where maybe, they ask me if I want to hang out or do something with them, and I can't because I'm consistently and always working on homework. So I would say it's a difficult in terms of workload and the time we put into it, and it's difficult because it's very subjective. Like, we don't go into class with, straight answers. Like, it's not like math homework where it can be like, oh, that's right, that's the right answer. It's more like we go into class and we get critiqued on, like, oh, maybe you can mess around with the way this font looks and change the typeface for this one, or change the spacing between this. And it's hard because they'll be like, oh, make it look more dynamic. Well, we have to figure out how to do that. We have to figure out ourselves how to make something more dynamic and more engaging to a viewer.
So do you think the grading's subjective then?
It's definitely subjective.
Depending on the professor?
Pretty much, yeah. It's like one professor could really love it, and then another could just absolutely hate it and not give you a good grade.
Because I think that all grading is subjective.
Yeah.
In academia.
Yeah.
But when you're judging art, how are you supposed to compare a person's effort, or one student's effort to another?
There's like a little bit of a rubric where, like, did you, follow all the criteria? Like, right now we're doing advocacy posters, so did you choose a good topic, and did you do your research, and did you, collect good images and all that sort of stuff. But then when it gets down to the actual design of the poster, it's like, well, is it engaging? Is there movement? Is it interesting to look at? Is it like, does it pull people in? Does it do its job as an advocacy poster? And that's where it gets tricky and it gets sort of gray.
Are most of the professors fair, do you think?
I think so far most of the professors are fair. There's definitely a little bit of favoritism. Like, I remember my freshman and sophomore year, my best friend Sully in design, all the professors loved him because he was really, he was very vocal in class, and he was funny, and his designs are pretty good too. But, like, there was definitely times where he would come in with, maybe we had to design 10 posters and he only had, like, 5. And then I would come in with all 10, and he would still get a better grade than me on that. Just because, well, we don't know. And we talk about it all the time. There was one time our freshman year where we were in a drawing class, and he came, for our final we had to have a sketchbook and, like, all our drawings or whatever. And he came in and didn't have all of it, but then I had all of it, and he admits that I spent more time on it, but he still got a better grade than I did. So it's kind of like some professors definitely are wishy-washy about grading.
So, have you had any bad experiences with professors, or particularly good experiences as well? Is anything that stands out?
I've had some bad experiences with professors. There have definitely been times where I butt heads with professors. This year especially, we have a new professor, and this is her first year. And, well, actually, both my professors this year. One of them's not new, he's just old. But the one that's new, she just doesn't understand how to teach, and it's incredibly frustrating. And I've had my classmates comment saying, like, Emily, you should control your facial expressions because you're outwardly upset about the way she's doing things. And I'm like, well, I just don't agree with the way she's teaching. So this year it's been tough just because I don't like my professors. I don't like the way they're going about class. They're not really teaching. They're just talking about their experiences in design and what they're going through and not really helping us. So that's, like, my bad experience. But I've had, incredible experiences, too. Like, last year, my professor, she really went above and beyond to make sure that I was, grasping the concept of design. And there was one point where I was sort of feeling like I couldn't do design anymore because it was just the workload was too much, and I was considering dropping out, but she kind of pushed me and she helped me in a direction, and she gave me some inspiration and gave me some sources to get inspired again. So, yeah.
Do you think that that's because you're working more with, like, actual professional graphic designers, whereas, like, at the beginning it was more like just teachers?
It could be. The beginning, all of our professors are professionals in some way. Like, one of them had worked with Apple for a long time, and she was, one of their designers. And one of them, they all do graphic design stuff outside of teaching, and they all work on really cool projects. And they don't always show it to us, but, like, we'll go and look at them, and they're pretty cool. So they are still professionals outside of teaching, and which is really nice because they're still, in the loop of what is still good design. And, like, because the design world is constantly changing. There's never, one good design. So they're, really good at teaching us that aspect. But sometimes, like with the professor for my web design class, she just only talks about her experiences, and it's nice to know sometimes, but she's not teaching us how to design websites. She's just teaching us about her, and so that's frustrating.
So that, along with the heavy workload, sounds like a lot of stress and a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Do you think that your academic schedule has affected your personal life at all?
Oh, for sure.
How so?
I just don't hang out with friends outside of design anyways. I don't hang out with any of my friends anymore. And it could just be that, things are changing. Like, I'm becoming closer to people in design, and I'm just not as interested. And definitely the sleep thing, I'm never getting any sleep. I'm, getting maximum, 6 hours of sleep
Is anyone
a night.
really sleeping?
That's so true. No one's really sleeping anymore. But, I wish I had the option to sleep, and that'd be nice.
How many hours of sleep do you get a night?
Maximum 6, usually around 3 to 4.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Just because I'm always working on stuff.
Do you think that's so it is actually working, it's not just stress? Because I know some students they procrastinate and then they get too stressed out and then they can't sleep.
Yeah, so
even
I get
when they finish school.
I get out of class at 2:30. I come home. Then my routine is this: I come home from class around I go home around 3. I eat. I take my dog out. I'll talk to my roommates for a little bit, and then I'll come in my room and I'll work on homework until about 6 or 7. Then I'll come out, eat again, and then around an hour. That's an hour break, and then I go back and I work until about 11. Take another break, and then from 11:30 to maybe 2 or 3, I'll work, and usually call it a night around 2 or 3. So then I wake up at 6:30 and do it all over again. So it's not like I am stressed out, and there are times where I do procrastinate, but it's just anymore I don't have time to procrastinate because I'll really dig myself into a hole. So I've kind of learned that I need to just get it all done as soon as possible.
You think you're better about that now?
Oh, for sure. Freshman and sophomore year, I definitely procrastinated. I would wait until 10 p.m. to start my homework and then be up all night and kind of just screw myself over. So this year it's definitely gotten better where I know the expectations from my professors and from myself, and I've gotten a lot better at time management. It just is a really heavy workload.
So do you think that's prepared you better for the workforce?
I think so.
The real life of graphic design?
I think so. We haven't really looked too deep into the world of graphic design. Our professors have sort of told us it'll be the same in, in design world, because it's not a 9-to-5 job. You're, working on kind of your own schedule sometimes, and you're also working late and staying late for some projects, and having to work around the client's schedule. So it's going to be relatively the same out in the real world.
And do you think that, are you stressed about where you're going after school? Now that you're nearing the end of your career at KU, are you stressed about finding something once you graduate? The look on your face tells me that you're very stressed about it.
Well, because, here's the thing, the only thing I'm stressed about is finding a job I will like. I don't want to, because it's not hard to find a graphic design job. Every company nowadays needs a graphic designer, but it's I don't want to work for a bank, and be their graphic designer and design those posters you see when you walk into a bank. That's boring, and I that's what I'm most concerned about. I would love to work for, a really cool studio out in San Francisco, but finding that kind of job that I would like is what stressed me out the most. So I'm not too worried about finding a job. I know that, if it comes down to it, I can work at, any place and be a graphic designer. The only stressful part is, finding the right job right out of college to build my, portfolio and hopefully move up in the design world.
Okay. So we've talked a lot about what you've put into becoming a graphic designer and what it's going to be like trying to become a graphic designer in the actual workforce. But what we haven't talked about is if it's actually all been worth it up until this point.
Yeah.
Or if you've ever even considered dropping it at all along the way and changed your mind.
Yeah.
So has it been worth it?
I think it's been worth it. I mean, it's more worth it that I've learned a lot of skills from it. And, skills that you can't be taught in maybe any other classes. Definitely skills I can bring out into the real world. In terms of is it worth that I'm, pursuing graphic design, I'm still not really sure, because I do love it, but it's more of a hobby to me than a job. And that's just that's a personal thing. And I really, think that once I get out of college, I will do graphic design, but probably in a few years after that, I'll probably go to something else. It's just, I was, coming out of high school, I wasn't sure what I was going to do, and I felt like I needed a major. And since graphic design is a 4-year program where they structure it for you, this year you take these classes, and this year you take these classes, and if you get behind, then you're stuck another year, sort of thing. So I felt like I really need to stick with it. I think it's been worth it so far, but it's definitely been stressful.
Would you have done anything differently looking back?
I think I would have taken more classes in high school. I don't think I would have changed my major. I think I would have just tried to come in more prepared, so I wasn't so behind. I was really behind my freshman year because I didn't know anything about design at all or art at all. So I wish I would have taken some more classes in high school that would have helped me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have changed. I love graphics. I love the major I'm in. I love the people I'm with. I don't think I would have changed that part.
Do you have any advice for people who are considering graphic design?
It's not for people who don't want to put in work. I think a lot of freshmen that I've talked to, since I am a freshman TA, have said they expected it to be easier, that they expected it to be just design this poster and be done. But really, there's a lot more work behind it, and you do have to put in a lot of hours. So I would just say be prepared to work. I mean, that's any college degree. That's anything in college. But I feel like when people think of art and design, they're like, oh, you're just making this and it's done. You don't have to put that much effort into it. It just has to look good, but that's not the case at all. So I would just say have a good mindset and be prepared.